keep 'em down on the farm after they've seen Perry? How you gonna keep 'em away from Broadway, jazzing around and painting the town? How you gonna keep 'em away from harm? That's a mystery. They'll never want to see a rake or plow.
I think it's a wonderful venture. I think we are very lucky. We've got a very special group of people with a variety of skills, particularly in communication, and that's been very helpful to resolving the issues that come up. I just love seeing this land be productive. It's been just full of weeds for 15 years. It's wonderful to see it being used.
If we don't do it later, that we eat it by, so yeah. Unless we bring our.
I think I really like the knitting together of people coming together to do this thing, because we create such beauty and this food together. It's a similar feeling I get when I make dinner for friends, and that we're creating all this nourishment together, and it's basically our collective energies going into all these plants to come back to us and feed our bellies. It's a very exciting feeling, particularly in uncertain times. I think there's so many lessons here that I'd be excited to share with Salt Springers, and that is that we really need to grow our communities in order to be able to navigate the troubled decades we're going to be facing because of climate change, for example. And it's going to be really important for us to get things right between us in order to be able to navigate the difficulty and the potential conflicts that arise when things get tough. So I think this kind of thing helps us to work some of that out so that we can, build that collective muscle through our emergency pods or through initiatives like this, gardening together. It's a really sweet thing to do.
A lot of the folks, I'm a gardener, and I've been a gardener for 30 years now, mostly ornamental, because there's not really any money in vegetable gardens, but people will pay good money to have their ornamentals looked after in their place. More on Salt Spring, like a property manager. People have big properties that need looking after. So I came at it from that side. I don't really grow veggies. I grow some tomatoes, but it's very particular. But I think that what was interesting is a lot of the folks in the neighborhood weren't gardeners and they brought their own skills to it. Like, it never would have been organized if it hadn't have been for the fact that a lot of these folks probably work in a kind of a bureaucracy, or they're used to working within a kind of an administrative hierarchy, and they know how to get these things done, and they know how to motivate people to do things, and they know how to communicate well with people, which is something I could work on too. So somebody had to pick the crops. But what did we just grew? And we grew crops you could keep. I think we were worried, about food shortages and stuff originally. So, and then it was, you kind of have to find things that everybody likes. And then we divide out into smaller groups for more particular things, but basically you just grow things that you have to decide what everybody wants to eat. What can keep well, what grows well in your area, what grows well in your soil, and sort of take it from there. But I say, in any gardening, I say start small and see what you can handle, and then expand a little bit at a time, sort of thing, and try to grow. We started with one field, then we decided on another field, and then now we're on to, well, I guess they come across as two, but it all came about in 3 separate plowing situations where you just kind of grew and grew and grew, and then it seems manageable. Things I wouldn't have thought possible in the first year, now I'm suggesting, and I was like, 2 years ago somebody would have suggested them, I'd have been like, for the love of God, don't do it. But now it's like, oh yeah, now I can sort of wrap my head around it. So I'd say start small, start with just a few crops and try to get them right. And don't be afraid to do research.
Are there any crops you would sort of steer people away from, like to start off? Like, I know we had a zillion cabbages, which are great, but then we had too many of them, it seems.
Right. Well, we sort of grew the cabbages in the winter, so
right.
It's kind of a different kind of cabbage. And then I know we had problems with the wire worms because we were breaking ground over what was grassland, and the wire worms are in there, but then somebody came up with planting brown mustard around the outside. So there can be solutions. It's tricky seeding, direct seeding, because that requires a lot of, it requires somebody watching it much more closely. So, if you can find a way to start your plants mostly indoors, get them started, then get them out in the field, that can work better. Because technically we only meet here once a week, but you can't water your crops once a week, your seedlings, you have to get in there and hand water, so that's something. Yeah, but I would say plant what you like to eat, plant what keeps.
And you mentioned the winter garden. Did you think that was like a good addition, or is it?
That's my favorite garden, the
Yeah.
winter garden. I like it because you can just really, first of all, it's simple. Secondly, it's amazing to see things growing in the winter like that, to come out in these cold days, and you've got these giant cabbages and Brussels sprouts, and you're not getting this tons of harvest when you can't do it, and it's super low maintenance. It's really easy to look after, so I enjoyed it. And the time to plow for it is kind of July, August, which is an excellent time to plow, because when you're trying to prepare your beds, like for example, if you're going to grow, if you think you want to do one of these gardens, don't decide to do it in March. Decide to do it the summer before and start prepping your soil, because March isn't the time to prep your soil. So if you can get a plow in there and break up your soil in July or in August once it's dried out, you'll have much better results the next year. So we've sort of got into that rhythm a little bit, and that really helped. Because we came up with the idea in March, and so we were in here trying to till, and it went okay, and luckily we had a tractor. If you didn't have a tractor, boy, it would have been a lot of work, because even a rototiller won't want to go through that kind of thing at that time of year. So I would say plan as far ahead as you can, and start small. But the winter garden, yeah, I'm a big fan of the winter garden. And then we did garlic, which seems pretty low maintenance and pretty nice too. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things about being part of this gardening group is that it really does build a connection with the neighbors and a sense of neighborhood. So it feels like the ties with neighbors have been strengthened, greater awareness of who these people are individually, and taking part in a communal project like this really does build the sense that we're here for each other and that we can support each other and engage in a common project, as well as there's just satisfaction in growing and sharing food. There's the work on the garden, and there's also the work on building the group that can work on the garden. So there is necessarily some time that is taken up in plotting out what to do, negotiating interpersonal differences and styles, and that can be a little difficult at times, but it really does build a stronger and more resilient community. And I came into this pretty much a non-gardener, and one of the advantages of a community garden like this for someone who does not know very much about gardening is that you learn from the people who have more experience and knowledge, and gradually build your own knowledge in a quite satisfying way.
My mom lives here on the farm, and I live in the States, and when we first went into the pandemic, we were really concerned about her being here alone. So when she came to us and asked us about whether we would be comfortable with people coming and creating a community garden, I was actually really enthusiastic about doing that, because I felt like it would help her have people come by, and she wouldn't be so alone. And I think none of us really anticipated just how significant that would be for her, for the land, for the community. It's been wonderful to see how everybody knows each other better, everybody supports one another. It's led to other efforts in the community, like the little pod going out and cutting broom, which I love. And of course, there's the benefit of having more food security, which is really a concern for us. So for me to come after the border opened and I was able to come up and see what everybody had built here was incredibly moving, and exciting to see what a difference it had made to the entire neighborhood. So when I come, I love to come and help out and work in the garden and learn from everybody. Um, and I'm just incredibly grateful that we've been able to participate in this project.
To connect and actually really get to know each other. And that kind of solidity and relationship with your neighborhood in these crazy, crazy times is a real kind of balm and medicine. It's also wonderful. The food is wonderful. Like we just today harvested, we're just thinning the beets, and so we have baby beets and beet greens that will go home and steam up. And it's like you pull it out of the dirt, out of the garden, you wash off the dirt, and then you go home and eat it. Last week it was the first of the garlic, and there's nothing better than just fresh garlic on Salt Spring. So the food is really wonderful. And also, I'm a consultant by trade, and I have an MBA, sort of all biz background, and so the whole organizational side of it and how people come together and work together is really fascinating to me. You never know who your neighbors are, you never know what they have in their toolkit, and to really draw upon that and then to create your organization, or like a loose organization around that. So we, the organization or the admin side of it, which is the stuff that I love, is really part of it. It's something that I always pay attention to, and we had a lot of organizational structure in the first year, very little in the second year, and then this year it's like Goldilocks. We just got it right the third year. So we have a light organizational structure with people going into the roles that they fit in, and then it runs really smoothly. So so take the time to really think about the people side of things and the skill side of things and what you need to make it run smoothly. It's really important to have somebody who does the money, that has like an admin budgeting role. It's really important to have the farm leads, the experts who know about gardening. And it's really good to have anybody in your group who knows about group process that could manage that. The third thing, there's four things I want to say. So the third thing I want to say is be flexible. Like your group is going to have different values, different needs, and allow your group to evolve, and right size it, make it the right size to fit what people want out of this, how much energy they have, and what can be an equal commitment for all. So we grew way many crops in the first year, and now we're down to just a few major crops, and then we have subgroups. So we've created an organization that really matches the needs of our group. And the last thing I'd say is that when people get together, it's messy, and that's an important part about it. It's important to recognize and honor difference in the group. It's important to take time, if anybody has any issues that come up, is to really understand that messiness is part of the process. And we've actually done a really brilliant job as a group to honor that, to honor difference, to listen to each other, to talk to each other, and to take the time to work out any bumps that we may have. And I think the very last thing I'd say is this has given me so much joy. I'm somebody who doesn't know a lot about gardening. I've learned so much. It's one of the highlights of my week and the highlights of my year to do this. And so there's so much more that you get out of it than just food. And it's made me feel more sane and more whole and more human to actually get dirt under my fingernails every week and to do this kind of many hands work with my neighbors.
Every Sunday, generally from May, a little bit later in May, all the way through to September, October, we gathered as a neighborhood and had varying interests of people that were therapists and counselors, farm leads, labor, and we've developed a garden that has produced so much fun and so much nutrition. And I've really learned that if there was a difficulty, even in the outside, not related to the neighborhood, we were able to confer with everyone, and we were able to get back together usually the same day, but if it needed to go a little further. So we really hope that we can share that out and make it so that it's accessible, even if you live in a forested area that may be taking up one of the large community garden plots in Fulford Valley, or someone else that they know has fallow farmland that could get going into a neighborhood garden space as well.
The best part of many is, I don't know for whoever's watching, but if you've ever had a sense of neighborhood, for me it's like returning back to the 70s where you could pop into somebody's home and chat and just connect during a walk. So we have all that and so much more through the different waves of our experience here. But one of the things that really helps is when you've got farm leads, and maybe other people have talked about that, but I think just getting together, that potluck, community potluck process, to sit down together, share a meal if and when you felt safe about that, and discuss needs and wants. The other thing that's, I think, super helpful is when personality issues surface at any given moment. Somebody might be in a state of anxiety or depression or just concern, that at least somebody in your team can support folks to sit down and talk it through. And it's not it might be therapeutically beneficial, but it's really an opportunity to grow together. And I think that's people helping people is really one of the great gifts that this crazy, wonderful life offers us. So good luck, and let's become each other's best resource. Have a good day.
Yay, Team Echo Valley!